Welcome to another episode of The Blueprint. Now, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. You're not too late because we started this just last week. If this is your second time, that is, you joined me during the pilot episode, welcome back. The Blueprint is a platform where I speak with industry experts, leaders, trailblazers, innovators, where we extract their blueprint to success. It's about unpacking these real conversations. And today I'm particularly excited for several reasons. One, because I have my very first guest in the studio. But secondly, because my guest happens to be someone who I have a deep respect and admiration for. And I know you've probably heard me speak about him so many times, and we finally get to have this conversation. Now, in the media industry, he is a household name. And that's something that we've seen over the years. He is the CEO, MD of Megalectrics Limited. Now, if we think about Megalectrics, you know that it is a powerhouse that has birthed some of the most influential media houses like the Beat 99.9 FM, Classic FM, Naija FM, and the mighty Lagos Talks, which we are broadcasting live from right now. And dare I say that he created a blueprint of what modern day radio in Nigeria is. And we're going to get to that because one of the most exciting and intriguing things about his path so far. He's none other than Mr. Chris Ubosi. Now, beyond all the accolades and all the titles, he's a visionary. He's a leader. He's a father. He's a husband. And I always say he's my boss, and he will always be my boss. Welcome, Mr. Chris.
Thank you very much, Ify. It was fun listening to myself being spoken about. To be honest with you. I felt a bit bad because I thought I was the first. I thought this was the first edition, and I was the first person.
This is you're the first guest.
Okay, yeah, that makes me feel special all over again.
That's good. You know, I have to do it right. The first one was just an introduction to the blueprint so that they know exactly what to expect. And so this is the proper first episode.
Absolutely.
So you're a part of that. And I'm so excited, and thank you so much for indulging us, for agreeing and accepting to be a part of the blueprint. I know that you have such a colorful journey thus far being in the media industry. And I want us to talk about, building an empire. It's one thing being the individual who is maybe, I would say, who is constructing this entire journey on this entire path. But it's another thing, we being the viewers on the outside, being able to tell you thus far what you have been able to introduce to the world. A lot of times people don't really know the magnitude of what they have contributed to society. And I'm really hoping, and after this conversation, this little conversation we're going to have for about an hour, hopefully, that you get to understand how much of a role that you have played in the media industry so far in Nigeria. So we're going to start off with a little rapid fire questions so that we get you comfortable, because I want to make sure that I extract all the information possible from you today. Okay? So I'm going to start with this, right? So let's start with this one. If you weren't in the media industry, what other industry would you pursue?
Possibly finance, something in finance, because I was really good at economics and math.
That's interesting to know. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Follow your talent, not your passion.
That's interesting. We're going to get to that eventually. What is your go-to song when you want to distress?
Redemption song, Bob Marley.
All right, I like that. If you could, now speaking about Bob Marley, if you could have dinner with a media mogul, living, dead, who would that be?
Trevor Noah. I had drinks with him, but I'd really like to sit down with him for a lot longer. Trevor Noah, I think, is really an interesting person.
That's interesting. I quite like him. What's a misconception that people have about you?
I snap a lot. I'm hot-tempered, but I'm not. I am hot-tempered. I have a short fuse, but the fuse goes off and I'm calm
immediately, right?
Almost immediately, yeah. But you know that I have a face that that people think I'm stern and I'm.
They don't really know.
They don't. Yeah, but you know, it works for me. It's good.
That's so interesting. If you had the opportunity to speak with your 18-year-old self, what would you tell you?
Nobody owes you anything, my brother. Just soldier on. Just keep doing what you're doing.
I love that very much. Now let's just take it back down memory lane, right? In your teenage years. Introduce us to Chris Ubosi as a teenager. I want to know what your upbringing was like, what type of environment you grew up in, and how your frame of mind was at that time.
My growing up years were really interesting. I was a bit of a rebel. Well, it depends on what years. What are teenage years? Between 13
to 18.
Yeah, I was a bit of a rebel. You know, my older brother is Chudi Ubosi. He's the estate Ubosi at LA, the one that makes my tax go up every time. You know, but you know, he was straight. He was, you know, really diligent and really like he was the first kid. So, you know, he had all the first kid behaviors and everything was nice. But I was a bit of a rebel. But fortunately, I was very clever. I was very, you know, I used to get scholarships and I used to, you know, do very well in school. So I used to be a bit of a rebel. I used to go out quite a bit. He didn't used to go out as often as I used to. And but I grew up in my dad was a director in NEPA. My mom was a director in Ministry of Education. And so we kind of grew up you know, nice. There was I'm not going to say that, you know, we
started from the trenches.
No. We didn't. We lived well. We had a big family. There was five boys and one girl. So there's 6 of us, you know, so we lived well. We had a loving, but very, very. My mom was an educationist, so she was really strict with us, and yeah. But aside from everything was nice. Everything was good.
So fast forward to uni. What uni did you go?
University of Ife and University of Lagos.
And you studied economics?
I studied quantity surveying in University.
Quantity surveying, that is a very interesting one.
And project management university for my master's in University of Lagos.
Oh, wow. You know what? I want us to get deeper into that because one would wonder from being or studying quantity surveying, if that's how it's pronounced, in the university and then building one of the most formidable media houses in Nigeria. One is very interested in knowing like why, how, when, like where did that decision come from? So fast forward to after university, what was your first experience in the workforce like?
Yeah, very strangely, I only worked in one place. I worked in one place for 21 years after I got after I left school.
21 years.
Yeah, I left university pretty early. I left university at I think I was 20.
Wow.
I worked for 21 years in the same place, and then I set up this place. So I mean, you know, I basically got hired to work on the master plan for Abuja, which is very strange because I was in Abuja last week and I was looking around again and saying, you know, I remember when there was nothing in this place. And,
yeah.
You know, it's all grown, so it's massive. Yeah, so that's what I was. We did a whole bunch of legacy projects out there in Abuja. And that's why what I was doing at the time. I was the project manager on one of the big projects in Abuja, yeah.
So okay, so let's just rewind for a little bit. After university, you worked in an organization where you stayed for about 21 years, which is amazing. But that's the media industry. But why?
No, it wasn't media at the time. It
wasn't media at the time.
We started. I was the project manager. I was a quantity surveyor and a project manager.
Okay.
And then we evolved into media because that's when they liberalized media. So we went into media at the time, and you know, it was. I liked media because you know it was a lot more interesting, to be honest with you, than you know, literally watching paint dry, like, you know, like watching concrete dry, so to speak, you know. And so yeah, so we got media licenses at the time, because that was when media was just being opened up in Nigeria. And after when I left, I started started Megalectrics.
And that's in 2009?
Yes, it was 2009.
Wow, 2009.
You're clever, you remember.
I mean, what can I say? But it's so interesting, and I just want us to pause here for a moment, because I always talk about this thing called serendipity, right? You were a project manager. It wasn't a media house at the time. Eventually evolved into media, and that's where, you know, your journey truly began, delving into the media industry even deeper. I always say that there are times where people don't necessarily know what they want to do just yet, but sometimes you're advised to just go. Like, if you have an opportunity, go. You might eventually, I would say you will, in your case, eventually figure out what you want to do. So serendipity in general being that thing that you bump into when you are on the journey doing something completely different. And I would say that your journey into media was serendipitous. And then in 2009, establishing what I had mentioned has now become the blueprint of what modern day radio is like in Nigeria. I recall when we first bumped into Beat FM, everyone was like, what is this station? Why are they playing all these jams? And it's back to back to back to back to back. And then eventually we started hearing some voices, polished voices, some with deep accents and some with very polished Nigerian accents. It was like, what is this fresh station? Like, So I want you to take us through what your thought process was like birthing Megalectrics. What did you seek to, achieve? What was the goal in the first place?
Megalectrics was, Megalectrics started with Classic FM and the Beat FM. They were both basically meant to fill gaps in the broadcast industry, because we had been in the industry for a while. And so I knew the gaps that were there, and Classic FM was to look after the old school music, people with the psychographics of. I mean, I listened to, my mom will tell you, I listened to Nat King Cole, maybe because I hung out with my dad a lot. Listened to Nat King Cole when I was 20, even in university. So I knew that there was that gap, and that took off like a house on fire, and the Beat FM was meant to, all the other stations were leaning a lot more towards the US, towards hip hop and R&B, and so. But I wanted to create something that was more connected with the UK, UK music scene, with the grind and the and with Skepta and Dizzy Rascal and those kind of people that were bubbling on at the time, because those were the kind of people that we used to go to club when you go to clubs in London. That's the kind of music they were playing at the time, but it wasn't here. So we had a great influence in bringing all. That's why you see that people like Tools and Rex and all the UK people that came. They bought into it, and we pushed it for the longest time. Yeah. So that was the genesis of Beat and Classic, and then as we went along, we got more successful, and people started asking. We started to get into partnerships, and then we started Naija FM, which is a local languages station, and was meant to just take it up a notch, and then of course me and you sat down and decided to do Lagos.
Ooh, hey guys, I'll tell you the story.
Lagos talk. Well, I seem to remember that you wanted to work in the Beat. I was just like, I want to work in the Beat. I said, no way. I know where your strengths are. Go do this, and you turned out to be a total gem.
That's amazing. How, and that's one of the things that I also wanted to always ask, like, how were you able to identify? Because that was, in my opinion, I feel like that was a gamble. That was a risk. I had no experience whatsoever in radio, like no prior experience. And then you put me on the midday show as the only host on the midday show. So like, how were you able to even identify if I was going to, mess things up, or I was going to be a success?
I always say, I that's one of the things I'm really good at, is spotting people's strengths, and
wow.
and that's where your strengths don't necessarily lie with what you like, which is why I say follow your talent. One of the best advices I ever got was follow your talent and not your passion. You're passionate about the Beat FM, but I know that your talent and it's shone through. A bit of training, a bit of you can tell people who are diligent, people who work well in talk radio are diligent people. They do the research, they talk well, they speak well, they are honest people, because you have to be honest to work in talk radio. You have to be willing to balance both sides. You don't stick to one side, and I could see that you interned here for. And I could see that. I could see that in when we used to do the strategy meetings with Sadiq. Yeah, I could see all that. So I said, I said, this is. So it's about putting people, channeling them towards their strengths and you realize when you get there, you realize that this indeed is my strength, rather than your passion.
Wow, that's so profound. And just even thinking about that. Before you started Megalectrics, were you certain that it was going to be a success? And why were you certain if you were?
180%, man. I'm a very confident person. And again, I'm confident, but I'm not an arrogant person. We did a lot of research. I do everything I do. Is based on data and analytics. I mean, you don't arrogate. I've been consulted for. I must have built 30 radio stations for people but and they all, because they all think, oh, you're the one who knows how to do it. But when you look at it, every single city that we are in, Port Harcourt, Abuja, London, Ibadan, we commissioned proper researches and we had strategy sessions. Every single city has its own nuances, its own idiosyncrasies, its own every I keep telling people that when I was younger I loved dogs. We had my dog Spotty had 6 puppies. Each and every one of them was different.
Interesting.
So I therefore never group people together. Everybody has not by religion, not by tribe, not by class, not by anything. Everybody is a unique individual in itself. Every city is a unique city in itself. So you don't say because I know how to do it, I'm just gonna feed you this. No, it won't work.
It was strategic.
It was strategic. It was data driven. It was research driven. Yeah.
I love that very much. So and what I'm even learning from that is don't go in blind. So you may not know everything, but like doing that preparation, the research to know that there are nuances that you want to feed or you want to address when it comes to anything that you're doing. So I like that. So don't go in blind. One of the things that I've enjoyed, being my boss, and I have to say this here, going out, as the former programs director of Lagos Talks and the host of the midday show, I know that I will go out and, maybe at an event and they ask, oh, what's your name? And I say, my name is Ifuna. And like, where do you work? I'm like, oh, Megalectrics. And they're like, Chris Ubosi. I'm like, yeah, that's my boss. Immediately I say that, there's a boost that comes up on my shoulder. I don't know, it's like my shoulder pad, it just appears from somewhere. There's a certain level of confidence and boldness that I have, and I notice that across every event that I go for, and someone hears your name and they're like, oh, Chris is a good guy. Or Chris, I know Chris. I want to know how you have been able to build a personal brand to a point where your name actually becomes a key. Because I realize when I mention your name, there's more of an acceptance. It's like people now want to listen to what I have to say. Or they're like, oh yeah, come with us, come sit with us. And I feel like that's as a result of how you built your personal. So what did you do? How can I get to a point in my life that someone goes out there and they say, oh, Ifunanya is my boss. And they're like, oh wow, is that your boss? Come sit down, come sit down with us. How did you do that?
Well, it could be because you're really good looking. Well, that's one. No, but like I said earlier, I've been doing this for a minute, and I there's always one thing I say, and I try and, you probably see me do it around the office. It's you have to have a certain amount of integrity, especially when you live and work in this kind of it seems like a big place, but Lagos, Nigeria is a bit of a small place. So if you don't keep your hands clean, if you don't keep your nose clean, it will spread. And if you do keep your nose clean, it will also spread. I mean, I see people, I'm walking out of the office and someone comes, you don't remember me? I'm like, I apologize, but I don't. And they tell me about some massive favor that I did them years ago when they were just starting and they came, and I'm like, well, I'm glad it worked out for you, And so the key thing is just to do the right thing. You probably see. I come every time I walk in here, I see somebody in the reception. I ask them if they're being attended to, or if you want me, should I fetch them? You just do the right thing. You treat people like human beings, regardless of who they are. I may know your boss. I may know your, but I will sit down with you and listen to your nonsense and correct you when you finally realize that you have been talking nonsense. So it's nothing. It's just it's just how I was brought up.
I like that, and I feel like that's very key on this path. But one thing that I've also learned, and thankfully I have you here so that you could either debunk it or you could confirm it. A lot of times they say, for you to do business in Nigeria, you must be cutthroat. You have to be wicked. There has to be a certain level of wickedness that you have, because if not, you're not going to be at the top. You're not going to be a millionaire. You're not going to be a billionaire. Billionaires, millionaires, people that are at the top, they are cut different. They say things as it is, and there's a little bit of wickedness there. So I want to know, because, with what you've said and with what my experience, and dare I say a couple of my colleagues as well, where we go out and I've never heard anyone say, anything bad or, giving me some sort of attitude. If anything, it's the opposite. They're so embracing, but how is it true? Is it not true? Is there wickedness in the mix of, the blueprints to success? Like how does it work?
If you solve a problem, or if your delivery is excellent, as a natural byproduct of that, you will make money. So there's really no need to, the minute you start to do underhand things, it will spread, and it will be, oh, don't worry. You see it all the time. I've been in this thing for 30 years. You've never heard that Chris Ubosi takes money to play music or the station, because I wouldn't do it, and I won't tolerate it if I heard that it was done under my watch. So that's the thing. And if you did it once, it will. All you do is just go to Chris, just give him this amount of money and you're good. So there are ways to stay above board, and all you just need to do is just do the right thing and just be really good at what you do. I mean, we're really good at what we do here.
Yeah. No, we are. We definitely.
I mean, I've been to presentations where they bring some ratings, and the man looks at it and says, what are you talking about? I've never met the man before. It was he says, I listen to Classic FM, and when I get my children are going to school, they turn the thing to Beat FM. Why are you telling me that? Please go on. If you're good at what you do, you will. It will rise. Regardless, it will rise. It will rise up to the top.
Now, speaking about rising up to the top, let's take a look at your global reach, because we mentioned Port Harcourt, Abuja, here in Lagos, of course, but there's also a Beat London, which is a community radio as well. And what this does show is you are a visionary that has sort of like a global view. I want to know why. Some people will say, why London? Why Beat London? Is this one in Nigeria not enough? Have you not? Why not go to Akure? Have you gone to Akure? Have you gone to Kano? Why are you going to London? Why? So what influenced that decision?
I'll tell you what influenced that. We grew up in London. We had Choice FM, and Choice FM got bought by Global, and so there was no more black radio station. So we just wanted a black radio station that was doing Afrobeats and that. And we got the only license that was available was a community license, and we tried to get an FM license, but they beat us out of it. So now we bought a multiplexer, a DAB. We bought into it, so we're now going to be heard all over London on DAB. I think it starts from middle of this month.
Okay.
Middle of the next quarter, yeah. You can now hear us all over. So that's what I was trying to do, was trying to bring back Choice FM. So we had people like Jigs and Angie, Jenny Francis, and we had people like Ivor who manages it. Used to be the general manager at Choice FM.
Interesting.
We had Steve Sutherland. We had all those guys who used to DJ on Choice FM came back with us, and so it's doing good.
And I love that you considered representation, because you use the word black, especially in such a growing world. The world is constantly evolving, but with the black community as well, being able to see clear representation, hearing music for your people, hearing music that represents your people as well. I believe that is definitely something that is encouraging as well. This is coming from Chidi. Lagos Talks is one of the powerful political stations. And he says, please help me ask your boss how he listens to all stations for quality control, because you have a couple of stations. So how do you do, like, every 5 minutes? Like, what's your routine like?
I listen to only 4 stations in Lagos. Lagos Talks, Classic FM, Naija FM, and the Beat 99.9. I listen to Lagos Talks on my way to work. I listen to Naija FM in my office. On my way home, I listen to Classic FM. And then Beat FM I listen to in the studio when I'm doing work. So every day I listen to the 4 of them.
Love it.
Every single day. And I rotate stations, but I only listen to our stations.
You see, now, just speaking about how you give these stations your attention, as a leader, dare I say that it gets exhausting sometimes. And I want to hear from you. Are there times where, or has there ever been a time, just think about it, has there ever been a time where you're just like, I'm not going to that office today, I'm tired, don't send me any emails, don't stress me, why are you talking to me about this, why are you talking to me about that? I want to know, has there ever been a time where you just felt like, you know what, I'm not carrying on with this thing has stressed me so much, and if so, what did you do about it?
You know that's very strange. And I come to work every single day that I'm in Lagos. Every single day.
Yes, even over the weekends.
Yeah, every single, even if it's for an hour or two, just to distress. I call it distressing, because I like to do my quiet work, like, write some letters and I need to print them, and so I just leave that for the weekend. And because during the week, I just wanted to say everybody comes, everybody walks in or comes in.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. I know some people here do that. So, but there's really, if you like something that you do, you see, when I say follow your talent and not your passion, there are some parts of the work that I'm passionate about, and so I just allocate a bit more time to those, which is like the day to day. Not necessarily, I don't like the generator problems but I like the high level. Like if I'm reading my mails and I see, some interesting convos going, and the guys are in the office, I say, come on, let's have a conversation about this, to try and come to, because instead of me just, because when I just type and say something, everybody say, yeah. Everybody just follows what I say. So I'd rather not do that. That's why I kind of stay away from things. But, I've never really wanted to walk away. It gets a bit, when the biggest problem that we had is power. When the power thing just got really bad. I think that's worst time ever in broadcasting is when power just went crazy and then diesel bills just went to the roof. You know, it was really.
So there was a video that went viral some years ago, and that was of what's his name? He's a popular comedian that does a talk show. I'll probably get his name, but one of the things that people spoke about in that particular video, Steve Harvey, that's his name. He was like, CEOs or millionaires, they don't sleep more than 4 hours a day. Like, you want to be a millionaire and you're sleeping more than 4 hours a day? What are you doing? And so that was a very, a controversial statement that he made, where the people were not like, I want to be a millionaire, but how will I manage if I don't sleep? So I want to know, like, being successful and as successful as you are in this industry, how many hours do you sleep? And is that true?
It depends. You see, I've worked for a long time, like I said. I've been working for almost 40 years. So I kind of I have the luxury of sleep. To me is not really important. If you understand what I mean. I mean, it's not. I don't. If I have work to do, I would stay awake and do the work. Sometimes I'm going to Abuja on the first flight and I realize that I have a document I have to put together. I'll come to the office. I leave here at 4:30. I'll go and take a shower and go to the airport. And then after my meetings, I'll go and take a nap. I'll go to bed. I mean, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm in control of my time.
I like that.
And so I sometimes I'm here till 11 o'clock. So I come in like I say, when I'm in Lagos, I come in every day. It irritates my wife, but it is what it is. She's used to it. But the good thing is now I've sort of, over the last 10 years, I've sort of distanced myself from the generator is bad, the software broke down, this, that. I've sort of distanced myself from all that drama because I've been there, done that, man. It's not gonna burn. Don't worry, we'll be all right.
I love that very much.
Sleep, I don't do that for. I can sleep for 10 hours if I wanted. I can sleep for 4 hours.
So if the work needs to be done, it needs to be done.
It needs to be done. It's not gonna do itself.
I like
it's
that.
It's not gonna do itself.
You're
not gonna say you want to sleep.
This is coming from a listener saying, if you're listening to the voice of your boss, I can't help but hear the voice of an advert that I had. No, it wasn't Mr. Ubosi.
It wasn't me,
I could categorically tell you that it wasn't him.
I mean, if it makes me extra money, I'll do it.
Okay. Good afternoon, Good afternoon. This is the man from Manchester.
Hello, you're not from Manchester.
Hello,
welcome.
Hi. I'm very well. Thank you very much. Hello, Chris. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good evening.
Nice. Good evening. So, I've been your fan since forever. I think I met you in the studio one of them days. I won a prize in one of Ife's numerous programs back in the day. I think in 2000, and it's been a while, so I can't remember now. And I remember I met you at the reception, and what first struck me was your size, like really big giant, because I'm 16 myself, I knew I'm taller than 16 and the size and the baritone and all, and I think we had a little conversation then, but we were rushing, so that was a very quick meeting. But I've been a huge fan, and really I'm very, very elated to hear you have this amazing interview with Ife. But my question is two ways. So the first is what inspires you as a person? Really, one thing cuts across top leaders, and I know they have someone or some people could be that they look up to or reverence that inspire them into going beyond board. So that's my first question. The second question will be how are you inspired to go beyond board? Because I perfectly agree to your stance as regards sleep. You control your time. There is no go to bed at 8, wake up at 5 or something like that. So you control your time, which rings perfectly to my understanding, basically. So yeah, these are the two questions I want to ask you, and I wish you all the best in everything you do, and keep being an inspiration to many of us. Well done.
Thank you very much, and enjoy Manchester. I hope you support the right side of Manchester, though.
I wouldn't want to go there because I know you're an Arsenal fan. I wouldn't want to go. I'm so crazy. You know what? Anytime you're in anytime you're in England or in Manchester, please, I would really, really love to take it to one of the pubs around here for a bottle or something there. Please, I won't mind it.
It'll be my pleasure entirely. It'll be my pleasure. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening to us. And anytime our signal does go dodgy, let me know. Let me know, yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
I will, sir.
All right. Take care.
It easy, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, well.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to get a bunch of questions before Mr. Chris actually answers that. All right, so we have another caller. She has asked a few questions. So let's just get her on the phone first of all. Okay, let's hear. Hi, good afternoon. Who's speaking?
Hi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Who's speaking, please?
My name is Sharon. My first question.
Hi, Sharon.
Sorry, what did you say?
I said hi, Sharon. Carry.
Yes, my first question is what Mr. Chris's lowest moment has been being a business owner, and then the second one is how he feels, when people decide, to move on and carry on, go pursue their dreams. How does that make him feel as a business owner and as obviously a man? So those are my two questions.
Thank you very much. Keep listening. All right, so let's go to the first question that Ima from Manchester had asked.
Well, funds are always difficult to do, but you see, everything is like I always say, everything. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So from even the finances. Well, I say even. I mean, yeah, it was the second most important thing. The first most important thing was getting the licenses. And then the next was getting the funds. But you already knew that the licenses were going to cost XYZ in license fees. You knew that you had a budget. So we were very fortunate. We got a loan from the Exim Bank. At that time, it compelled us to buy a lot of stuff from the US because they were it was an export bank, and so we bought all our tower and a whole bunch of our equipment from them at the time. And then the rates were a lot better than what we got in Nigeria, and then we didn't have so much currency fluctuation at the time as well. That and friends and family. But you see, the thing, I don't like that crutch of finance being a problem. You see, right now, all over the world, the dollar, money is chasing ideas. If your idea is good enough, if you can sell, there are more people there are more venture capitalists, there are more angel investors. There's so many people that are carrying money about looking for where to invest. So don't let the crutch be what you should be doing is honing in on tidying up your idea, making your idea as saleable as possible, crunching the numbers, doing the proper data and analytics on the project that you're trying to do, and you'll get the money. And don't go and be asking somebody to give you $10 million when you have never made $1 million in your life. You know what I mean? If you scale it up and plan it to grow organically, I refuse to think that money will be a problem.
I love that. And the key takeaway, like you mentioned, is money's chasing ideas now.
Yes, and everybody has money. I mean, not everybody has money. I mean, whatever people have, so long as I'm guaranteed an investment, a return on investment. It's a bad time now because the bank interest rates are ridiculous. So you need to really have a good idea that makes more interest than that. Yeah, and when the other question, I think, so money I don't think is the thing. The other question he asked was
so the other question, because yes, so what keeps you going, what keeps you moving?
You see, I always go back to how I was brought up, and everybody that works here is like my family. You know, I worry when something is wrong, and you know, so it's keeping the people engaged and you know, keeping the I don't do things for myself. I really don't, for want of a better word, care what people think about me. And
I like that.
You know, it really doesn't bother me, and I'm sure you know that as well. You know, but I don't like to not keep my promises. I mean, if I say that, you know, we're trying to be the best that we can be, I want to show it that I really believe. And if I didn't believe it, I wouldn't say it. You know, so that's what keeps me going every day. It keeps me trying to make a better person of myself and keep the promise that I made to all the people who work with me, who do business with me, and so on. So that's what keeps me going. And you know, there's a whole bunch of people who I'm very strange. Their names are Christopher.
That's
Eze.
interesting.
Christopher Eze is one of my best uncles. I love the man too. He's my father-in-law's good mate, and I just think the guy he just reminds me of my dad. I lost my dad 30 years ago. You know, he reminds me of my dad. Very calm and understated, but he's a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of everything. That's how I like to be, and those are the people that inspire me, you know.
Yeah. So speaking about people that inspire you, would you call those people your mentors? Because I want to also know the role that mentors played in your life, you know.
You see, I had a bad experience with I never had the reason I never had it really. I had a mentor mentee relationship, and it turned out that for it to be successful, there has to be a rapport, and there has to be trust. You know, there has to be, you know what? I found out that not found out. It transpired, and you know, and every people around me were beginning to see it. I was beginning to behave like my mentor. Yeah, he was trying to mold me to be like him.
Interesting.
You know, and it works when your mentor is building on your strengths.
I love that.
On your talents. He's
not trying to make you what you're not.
Not trying to make you what he is, or how he is, or how he thinks, or how he does things.
That's interesting.
You know, they were beginning. So that didn't work for me. So I never really. I have people, you know, who I when I have a tough thing, I call and I say, "Where are you, boss? Where are you? Can I come and have a chat with you?" Kenoji, okay, and you know, a whole bunch of people who, you know, I can go and say Bankole Aluko, you know.
So your community, you have the right community around
my older friends, you know, who I sit down with, you know, and we'll have a conversation about, and a lot of my peer groups as well, you know, who I bounce ideas of, honest, and they'll tell you it honestly about it. But the mentee thing, you know, I've had mentees who have been very successful, but I've also had ones that, you know, just expected me to do everything. You know, I mean, come on. I'm busy too, man. I'm giving you my time. You know, so yeah.
So make the best out of it when you have the opportunity to have a mentor.
You first have to have the balance. Make sure that there's trust, because you know you're seeing someone's vulnerabilities. You're seeing also, you know, you can really destroy that person if there's not that trust in it, you know. And he trusts you that when you say things, they're constructive criticism. I'm not trying to put you down, and you know.
All right, thank you very much. So now back to one of the questions Sharon had asked. She said, your lowest moment, what has your lowest moment been as a business owner?
As a business owner, as the media owner, as this radio, it was when I said it earlier on, when the power costs went to the roof and we had to start closing at midnight. I hate it. I still hate it. But, you know, I mean, radio is like a very personal thing. I have people who sleep with the with our radio station next to them.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, and you can't believe the number of calls and texts I got.
I can only imagine.
You people go off at 12 o'clock these days. What's happening, Chris? how do you want me to sleep in the night now? But
how do you want me to sleep in the night?
It is what it is. It's 1,000 naira per liter.
It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
It's costing us $1 million a year for diesel.
Whoa!
Yeah, so it was not sustainable.
May God be with you.
Amen. Wow. When people decide to move on, do the right thing. You move on. Life is about change. The only thing constant in life is change. Why shouldn't anybody move on? I'd move on if you give me a better deal. So but the thing is, don't be sneaky about it.
Yeah, do the right way.
Do the right thing. You walked into the front door, walk out through the front door, don't sneak out
like a thief.
Yeah, like a thief. Yeah, and you see, you never know how life takes you. You may want to come back
through that same front door.
I'm like, you know for how many people have left here that want to come back.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you find that the grass is really not that much greener on the other side. But I have no problem. I encourage. I write you the most lyrical recommendation letters.
I love that.
It's not a problem at all.
This is coming from Dozie, and I love this question, right? Because I find that sometimes asking the women folk this question, they get a bit angry when we ask them, how do you balance your life as a wife and a mother and running a business? But I want to ask you, because you're a father, you're a husband, and so Dozie is asking, how do you handle business as a family man? How are you able to balance it out and handle it?
I'm very fortunate that my wife works even harder than me. She's
a powerhouse.
She's almost annoys me. Darling, can you just turn the lights off already? It's only 6 o'clock in the morning. But you see, fortunately, I've been like this for very many years. So we've kind of got a balance. I mean, we will do what we will do. I mean, it started very badly because I wasn't going on holidays unless there was work. So if I was going to a meeting in Italy, we can plan a holiday around. And it used to kill me. I used to irritate the hell out because she would take the kids and go on holiday, and I said, listen, I can't go because I have stuff to do. But now the kids are all grown. None of them lives here, and so we're good. We're good. But at the beginning, time doesn't make itself. You have to make time.
Absolutely.
You have to make it. You have to force a hard stop when you have to force a hard stop.
Another question, and then after this, then one last question. Then we're going to wrap up. But this is coming from a listener saying, how have you ensured the business remains relevant so far?
When you say relevant, in the industry or
yes, with the way things are changing, evolving, especially in the media industry.
Yeah, well, now we're constantly. First of all, we have a growth mindset. We're constantly trying to improve. We're trying to we embrace technology because technology is what drives most of the change now.
Absolutely,
and we keep doing that, and everything we're doing, we were just discussing our new studios just before now, and we're trying to put everything in there to make sure that we're trying to we're catching up. We're doing everything that our customers are demanding.
Absolutely.
And everything that digital media is doing, we're leveraging on that to do so we don't get left behind.
I like that. Here's a question from someone saying, please let me ask you, what's his favorite drink? So, whichever way, you're the owner of the station, so if you want to call the name, please.
My favorite drink.
Your favorite drink now?
My favorite drink is whiskey now. Everybody's on single malt whiskey, baby.
All right. This is coming from...
it's Lent now, so I'm not drinking.
So after Lent.
Immediately.
This is coming from a listener saying, what's your mindset around collaboration in high demanding environments and in evolving systems? So